Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on my 1999 Dodge Ram 2500. We're going to do the rear axle bearings at the wheel ends, the wheel bearings. So I'm just going to show you a quick parts list of what you need. Mine truck's got 240,000 K on it. My one I think has a little bit of play over here, not much. Even when I lift the tire, it doesn't move, but when I put a good rock on it, it does have a little bit of play in there. So we're going to pull it apart and throw some new ones in. Anyways, it's a single rear wheel. You don't have to pull your differential fluid, but I'm going to because I'm due for a change anyways, so you're going to need a gasket scraper for that, but otherwise you can just jack up one side and pull it off and all your fluid will stay down, or most of it. You might have to top up a bit, but anyways, we're going to drop the fluid. So what you need, you're going to need this socket here, which is a 2 9/16. I got this from OTC. That's the part number there. It's got to have those rounded edges on it. I'm not a heavy guy for heavy stuff, I should say, so I got a 3/4 to half adapter because I only have half stuff. You're gonna need 2 wheel seals. You're gonna need 2 new lock nuts. You're supposed to have the little wedges that hammer into these, but I didn't get any. I'm gonna reuse them. You need something for sealing up your differential if you open it up, or the ends of your axles, which I'm going to use this stuff. I prefer this right stuff because then I can put this stuff on, fill up my diff, and I can drive home after I'm done. You don't have to let it sit for 8 hours, unless it's a pressure application for this stuff, but otherwise they advertise it as the 1-minute gasket. So you're going to need 2 of these big bearings and 2 small ones. The part numbers are all right here. I got them from Napa. So those are your lock nuts. Those are your one set of bearings. Those are your other set of bearings. And those are your oil seals. Here is the OTC socket. It was 32 bucks. All in all, for everything, guys, I'm about 250 bucks. So, and then as far as when you get to oils, you're going to need some limited slip additive. You need 236 milliliter. One of these tubes is 207 milliliter. That's good enough for me. And then I'm just using 80/90 gear oil. You can choose thicker oil, whatever you want, but that's what I'm using, or thinner oil, I should say, synthetic, but that's what I'm using. Anyways, to get started here, we're just gonna take off the diff cover first and get a pan under there and drain the oil. Alright, so now with your diff opened up, you can block the wheels there, make sure she doesn't roll ahead, pull off your hubcap, and then we're going to get to taking all 8 bolts out of there. They're 15/16 or 24 millimeter, so we'll wing these off here, and once you have that off, we'll get the wheel out of the way and get to taking our drums off. Alright, so next, pull off your drum. It might be tricky if you have a worn drum or not, but mine come off fairly easily, so they should slide off like that, or you might have to get behind and loosen it. So once that's off, take a 14 millimeter and wing off your end of your axle where it attaches to the hub there. There's 8 bolts, and then some oil will fall out, so put a pan under that, and then give your axle a yank. It'll just slide right out. It'll be ooey gooey, so get that somewhere where it can leak a little bit because it'll have oil all over it. And once that's out, take your keyway out there, that little plastic thing that shoves in the nylock. So we pulled that out there. It can be a little tricky. Then get your 2 9/16 socket on it, spin it off. The breaker bar was a little bit overkill. You didn't need that, so you can spin that off, get it off there, and then you're free. That was just a little bit of gunk there from the nylock I was pulling off. then your whole hub will pull out, your outer bearing will fall out, let your hub drain into the bucket because there's a bunch of oil that can sit in the middle there. And then once that's out, we can put it on the bench once it's cleaned up. You can pop out the seal. This is the old style seal. I pulled it apart in 2 parts. I think it was kind of broken actually. It came out in 2 pieces. So they I pulled them out in 2 stages there. You won't see me pop it out. But once it's popped out there, take a chisel or a punch, whatever you want to call it, and you can hammer out your bearings. Just hit them like that, go around in circles and keep tapping, flip it, and so you do the one side, flip it over, and it'll just fall out like that, and then flip it over your hub and repeat and do the other side. And then once you have both of them punched out, get some brake cleaner in there and clean the whole thing up. That's what I'm going to show you now. I just cleaned it all up in there. I sprayed everything out. It's nice and clean, ready for some new races. So you can take your races, and in the meantime take some oil and lube up your bearings to get them pre-lubed. Some guys pack them with grease. I really don't like mixing the grease and the oil, so I just oil them. But once you have that, let them soak there in the bags. Is a kind of handy trick. Now that I have my races in, you can take your outer bearing there, or I should say your inner bearing, and put it in the race and let it sit in there. And once it's in there, just make sure it spins good, that you didn't dent the race or anything. It's nice and smooth. I like to oil them up again, just in case. I mean, it makes a mess, but it's there, so and you're safe. So it's oiled now. It's time to put the seal in. So you can see that there's a little green notch there on the seal, and that's the lip there. That goes towards the inside, and it'll go down onto that ridge I was just showing you. So you can just take that there and hit it, and you'll feel it go right onto the ridge. Then take your axle shaft, put a bit of oil on it, just so your seal slides on nice and doesn't tear or anything. And you can slide it on. So just get it nice and centered, slide it over. You'll feel your race will hit. I thought I had the wrong seal. I was feeling it behind. So anyways, it'll hit, and then just kind of give it a little bit of a jiggle, and your bearing, your inner bearing there, will slide over. Then take your outer bearing, slide it on, and then take your lock nut, start threading it on there. And once that's on, you can take your torque wrench and torque that to 120 to 140 foot-pounds. I did 120. Once you have that done, back it off 1/3 of a turn. So there I'm at 1/4, and then there is about 1/3. That gives you roughly 1 to 10 thou of end play on the bearing. So once you have that done, you can hammer in your little keyway there right into the nylock. So that's what I was doing there. Hammer that in, and then take your axle shaft. My seal was fine, but I put some of the right stuff on the end just in case. So you can take your axle shaft, make sure the splines are clean and everything's clean, because that'll all sit in your tube. So just slide that in, and you might have to jiggle it up and down a bit to find the spline in there, but you'll find it. Just kind of give it a bit of play. It'll lock in, then turn your hub to line up with the bolt holes, and you just take a nut and or a bolt and start it. I put blue Loctite on them, so just thread them in, get a couple started so it's centered, and then I got some Loctite here, the blue Loctite, and I started putting it all on them. And just take your torque wrench or whatever. I just hammer them in with the impact, so I'm not threading by hand. And once that's done, grab your torque wrench. You're going to tighten those to 90 foot-pounds. So go around just like you would a normal wheel, and in a star pattern, and torque them on to 90. So once that's done, we're all sealed up and we're ready to go. You throw your brake drum on there and slide that back on, do a brake adjustment if you need to, and then throw your tire on, torque up your rim. I always torque these original Dodge rims, the Steelies, to 150 foot-pounds, and get them on there and done, and throw your hubcap back on if you got original rims, and if you're not like me, you won't have original rims, and you'll have some nice aftermarket ones, which I'll hopefully get someday. But yeah, torque them on, and all in all, this took me about 2 hours to do. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and please give the channel a like and a subscribe. If my videos interest you, please click on my channel and check out my other videos.